The day the divorce was finalized, I booked a train ticket back to my hometown. My phone, my ID, and a debit card with barely anything on it. That was all I had to show for the past few years. The housekeeper called to say I still had some things left at the house. Just toss them. I don't want any of it. Then he added, the young miss is crying for her daddy. She'll have a new daddy soon enough. The one she's been obsessed with all this time. My daughter, she's just like her mother. They even love the same man. It used to hurt. I used to wonder why that man couldn't be me. Now I just think if she doesn't love me, she doesn't. It is what it is. Right before the train pulled out, I said one last thing into the phone. Tell her not to worry. I'll never bother her again for the rest of my life. After saying that, I turned off my phone, shut it down, and swapped the SIM card. From that moment on, this city had nothing to do with me anymore. Sitting next to me was a little boy about my daughter's age, watching me cautiously with wide, round eyes. I used to love kids. Now I don't love anything. The little boy was quiet, well-behaved the entire trip. His dad, on the other hand, was on his phone the whole time, yelling and swearing up a storm. I put on my headphones and closed my eyes to rest. I don't know how much time passed, but someone gently tugged on my sleeve. I opened my eyes and looked at him. The boy bit his lip. Mister, my dad's gone. Can you help me find him? The aisle seat in our row of 3 was now empty. I didn't know what had happened, so my first instinct was to call for a conductor and the train security. After a brief investigation, it turned out the boy's dad had gotten off at an earlier stop. Before he left, he kept looking back nervously, as if afraid the boy would follow him. In other words, the kid had been abandoned. The train car erupted with chatter. Passengers started gossiping without a second thought, right in front of the boy, saying how heartless his dad was, how pitiful the kid was. Through it all, the boy just sat there in his seat, perfectly still. He didn't cry or make a fuss. I thought for a moment, then showed the transit cop my ID and gave him my home address and contact information. So when I got off the train, besides my phone, my ID, and a nearly empty bank card, I also had a kid with me. I officially settled back in my hometown. The little yard was overgrown, but I cleared it out and planted some fruits and vegetables. I had my grandpa's old photo framed and hung it right in the center of the living room. I gave the little boy a name, Samuel. I filed the paperwork and got him registered. From then on, my official file wasn't just a single, lonely page anymore. Samuel never caused any trouble. He was always serious, watching me with a straight face. He understood everything. He was an old soul in a tiny body. He was only 4, but when I got sick, he'd stand on a stool to cook me porridge. I thought of my biological child, the little Miss Wilson, Rose, the girl who'd get an entire ski resort as a gift if she wanted to go skiing, or a whole candy factory if she wanted a piece of candy. They were so different. Samuel asked me why I adopted him. He called himself a burden. I stroked his head and answered, because I was very lonely. So, can you keep me company from now on? He looked at me, silent for a long time, then nodded hard. Okay, I'll stay with you forever. The days passed one by one. Samuel started kindergarten. Samuel started elementary school. Samuel became class president. Samuel got into a fight. I was surprised when I got the call from his teacher. Samuel was a good, obedient kid, and very mature for his age. He wouldn't just get into a fight, he barely gave the other kids the time of day. In his words, they were too childish. I rushed to the school. The teacher met me at the gate, looking helpless. The kid Samuel fought with was a new transfer student who had just started today. Why did they fight? That's all I wanted to know. The teacher gave me a strange look. What is it? The new student, Rose, said Samuel was trying to steal her dad. What did you say? I stopped in my tracks. Samuel has a photo of you and him in his pencil case, the teacher said. Rose saw it and, well, she said Samuel was shameless for trying to steal her dad. I didn't say anything else, just silently followed the teacher. When we got to the office, the door opened and the teacher looked back at me. By the way, Rose's mother is already here. I stood at the office door and first glanced at Samuel, who was sitting quietly in a corner doing his homework. Seeing that he seemed okay, I breathed a sigh of relief. In my peripheral vision, the little girl who'd been throwing a tantrum saw me. Her eyes lit up, and she came running toward me on her little legs. "Daddy!" I bent down and caught Rose. Not to hug her, but to gently push her away. "You've got the wrong person, sweetie." I smiled slightly, then looked up to meet the woman's gaze inside the room. "Hello, ma'am. I'm Samuel's father. I never thought I'd see Lisa again. The world is a big place. If you don't want to see someone, you usually don't." Rose was wailing, pointing at me and accusing me of abandoning her. Samuel was gripping his pencil so tightly I knew he was getting annoyed. Lisa just stared at me, not saying a word. I knew she was waiting for my reaction. "Samuel." I packed up his school bag for him. "Can you head home first?" Samuel nodded without hesitation, slung his bag over his shoulder, and walked out without a backward glance. The moment he was gone, Rose expertly wiped away her tears, scrambled over, and hugged my leg. "Daddy, please don't be mad. Okay? I know I was wrong." I bent down and smiled, patting her head. Then I looked up at Lisa. "Lisa, can we talk? Alone?" The story of Lisa and me, there really wasn't much to tell. When my grandpa was young, he did a big favor for the Wilson family. The story goes that he saved Lisa's grandfather from a kidnapping. So for years, the Wilsons would always send gifts over during the holidays. After I got into college, my grandpa was getting old and couldn't travel easily. He was worried I wouldn't be able to adjust to the big city on my own. So he called the Wilsons and asked them to look out for me. That year, I walked out of the train station loaded down with bags and saw Lisa leaning against her car, casually scrolling on her phone. She was so radiant, so dazzling. I felt like I wanted to use every beautiful word I'd ever learned to describe her. Falling for her was the most natural thing in the world. I knew we were from different worlds, and I never expected anything. The moon hangs high in the sky. I was content just to be bathed in its light as I passed by. Lisa and I went to the same university. She'd occasionally bring me things on behalf of her family. Over time, we got to a point where we'd nod when we saw each other. Later, I heard about the love story between Lisa and her childhood sweetheart. The love stories of main characters are always dramatic and intense. They were constantly sweet, then fighting, breaking up, then getting back together. I was just a spectator, feeling a little down now and then. In my junior year, I started an internship. The company was far from campus, so I had a long commute every day. I ran into Lisa one day, and she casually asked what I'd been up to. I told her. Not long after, I got a call from Lisa's grandfather. He said they had an empty house near my office and that I should just move in. It's hard to refuse the kindness of an elder, and I was grateful. After moving in, I realized the house was filled with traces of Lisa's life. My conscience wasn't clear, so I confined all my belongings to the guest room, trying to minimize my presence. Until that night, I was working late, and when I got home, I found a drunk Lisa passed out on the sofa. I wanted to keep my distance, but I was worried she'd get cold, so I grabbed a light blanket to cover her with. Lisa opened her eyes and looked at me. I thought she was going to ask why I was in her house, but instead, she pulled me down, and we crossed a line. To be honest, I don't remember much about the chaos of that night anymore. The body has a way of protecting itself. When something is too painful, you start to forget. In my entire life, I've only ever been with one person one time, and she was calling out someone else's name. Come to think of it, Lisa has only ever said my name once. The day we first met, at the train station entrance, she looked me up and down. "Justin, that's me." That first meeting, it's a shame things never stay that simple. The campus was quiet after school let out. Lisa and I stood at the end of a hallway, a vibrant patch of green behind us. "You wanted to talk to me alone?" Lisa asked. "Whatever you want to say, just say it." Since she started, I didn't hesitate. "What have you been telling Rose these past few years?" "What? We've been divorced for 4 years. For 4 years, I've kept my promise. I stayed away. I sent the child support payments to your account on time every month. Kids have short memories. Besides, Rose never really liked me as her father. If someone wasn't constantly reminding her, There's no way she'd still remember me, let alone have any feelings for me. Lisa turned her head away. I didn't tell her anything. It was my grandfather who kept reminding her. Then why transfer schools? She kept begging to come find you. Lisa paused. Couldn't stop her. Of course. Rose was the apple of everyone's eye in the Wilson family. Whatever she wanted, she got. Even Lisa had no principles when it came to Rose. I lowered my eyes, thinking quietly. After a while, I smiled. It doesn't matter. Once her expectations are crushed, she'll want to go back on her own. I've never been a particularly likable person. Once Rose spends enough time with me, she'll realize her memory has been romanticizing me. In reality, I'm still that same unlikable, annoying person who only drags down her social standing. Her biological father. After moving back to my hometown, I opened a small restaurant to make a living. I couldn't handle it all by myself, so I limited the number of customers. Slowly, it started to get a reputation and was hyped up by tourists into a trendy spot. 18-year-old Justin wanted to be a six-figure elite, so he studied computer science because it was the easy way to make money. 28-year-old Justin just wants to run this little shop of less than 1,000 square feet and live out the rest of his life in peace. Ever since Rose transferred, her driver brings her to my restaurant every day after school. She's a smart kid. She only showed her bratty side on the first day we were reunited. Lisa rarely showed up. Most of the time, the person with Rose was the driver. I don't know what the Wilsons are thinking. If they value Rose so much, how can they be comfortable leaving her? A little girl, alone in this remote little town. I didn't kick her out. She's the only blood relative I have left in this world. I once stayed up for 3 days and nights straight to take care of her when she had a high fever. I once cut up my hands badly trying to make a toy she wanted. I have to admit, people are selfish by nature. When I did those things for her, I didn't expect anything in return. But when all I got back was her disdain, resentment, and disgust, I was, to some extent, hurt. When she was very little, she was clingy with me. She had to have me next to her to sleep, had to have me carry her when we went out. I relied on her dependence on me to get through the countless slights and injustices I endured with the Wilsons. But as she started developing her own consciousness, learned to walk, learned to say no, she slowly started to dislike me. Because I would stop her from eating too much candy, and I would be strict with her when she acted out. Kids, they don't distinguish between right and wrong. All she knew was that I often restricted her, so naturally, she didn't want to be close to me anymore. Until the day Lisa took her out to play. When they came home, Rose announced defiantly, "I don't want you to be my daddy anymore. I want Uncle William to be my daddy. You're not worthy of being my dad. Get out. This is my house." Samuel once asked me in private if it was okay not to be friends with Rose. He didn't like her. Of course. I didn't really care, but I was a little curious. Why don't you like her? Samuel was a mature kid. He rarely expressed a clear dislike for anyone most of the time. He was just indifferent. She hurt you. Samuel's tone was flat. You're sad every time you see her. I froze. She knows you're sad, but she keeps showing up in front of you anyway. As he spoke, Samuel lowered his head, looking a little dejected. Can I beat her up? I can't beat up that adult yet, but I can beat Rose. Samuel thought for a moment. Dad, can you sign me up for martial arts? I'll get really strong, Dad. I'll protect you. I agreed to sign Samuel up for martial arts. He trained incredibly hard. His instructor said, your Samuel can handle more than a lot of the older kids. I remembered Lisa once pointing her finger at me and sneering. A man like you? Who could ever love you? You're wrong, Lisa. Grandpa loved me. Samuel loves me. And now I love myself. Lisa would show up occasionally, always looking worn out from the road. She'd sit in my restaurant for a bit, order a couple of dishes, and then take Rose home after she finished eating. The neighbors were all asking if Lisa was trying to win me back. They didn't know she was my ex-wife. I'd always laugh it off. She's not blind. Why would she be interested in me? She's just here to pick up her kid, not to pursue me. In the past, I would have tried to guess the motive behind Lisa's actions. But now I have zero curiosity about her. Whether she comes or goes, I don't care. I sometimes wonder when Rose will finally get tired of this boring game of trying to win her father's affection. She's been in this small town with no aquarium, no amusement park, no big malls, for nearly 3 months. Maybe it's a flaw deep in everyone's bones that you only treasure what you can't have. Even kids aren't immune. The colder I was to her, the more she tried to stick to me. She often had a look of disappointment on her face. When I was gently holding Samuel's hand. When I was bending down to fix Samuel's collar. When I mysteriously brought out a special little dessert from the kitchen just for Samuel. But whenever I looked at her, she would shake off the loneliness and give me a sweet smile. People's feelings change with their emotions. When I adored this child, I would feel bad for half a day if she got a tiny scrape. But now, even knowing she's putting on a brave face, I don't feel anything. I even find myself thinking, why hasn't she left yet? Having her here is really, really annoying. I don't hate her. I just don't like her anymore. Early summer arrived. After the end of school ceremony, summer vacation officially began. I opened the restaurant as usual that day, and by the time I closed up for the night, Rose hadn't shown up. I just figured she had finally gotten tired of her silly game and decided to go back to being the precious little miss she was. But when I got home that evening, I found her sitting obedient on the steps outside my little yard, holding a delicate cake box. Lisa was with her. A few gift bags sat beside them. The mother and daughter's stunning looks drew admiring glances from passers-by, but they were focused only on what was in front of them. Mommy, when is Daddy coming home? Soon. We came all this way to celebrate his birthday with him, and we brought all these presents. Will Daddy be happy? He will. Hearing this, Rose pursed her lips, a look of anticipation on her face. She was wearing a formal little dress, clearly dressed up for the occasion. But the weather was muggy, and maybe she'd been waiting for a long time, because her forehead was beaded with sweat. Or maybe she wasn't hot, just a little excited. I stopped a short distance away. Samuel, however, didn't pause at all. He walked right up to the mother and daughter and said crisply, "You're mistaken. Dad's birthday isn't today. You're lying." Rose rarely confronted Samuel directly anymore. She knew how much I cared for Samuel and didn't want to annoy me, so she usually tried to avoid him. But this time, she jumped up and retorted loudly, "Daddy's birthday is today. He has the same birthday as me. I would never forget." Lisa saw me and stood up too. She didn't speak, but there was a faint look of hope on her face. "Justin." She said my name, clumsy and unfamiliar. "Happy birthday." I walked over, pulling out my keys to unlock the yard gate, and looked at her calmly. "I forgot to tell you, I celebrate a different birthday now." After a thought, I added, "But I guess little things like that don't really concern you, do they? I used to love my birthday." Grandpa was a sentimental old man who was a real stickler for tradition. Every year on my birthday, he'd prepare a huge meal, a beautiful cake, and a thoughtful gift. It was just the two of us at home, but it never felt lonely. His health wasn't good, so he couldn't travel long distances. But after I went to college and couldn't be home for my birthday, he would insist on flying all the way to my city every year to blow out the candles and eat cake with me. When Grandpa was alive, I was never lonely. That year on my birthday, Grandpa flew over to be with me as usual. At the time, Lisa was pregnant with Rose, in her 3rd trimester. But Lisa barely ever looked at me directly. We lived under the same roof, but she treated me like I was invisible. I could understand her back then. That night between us was a mistake from the start. I had even thought that since Lisa was drunk, I'd just slip away after it was over. If I didn't say anything, no one in the world would ever know what happened. But in reality, Lisa tormented me the entire night. Before I could recover enough to leave, the front door was opened by Lisa's grandfather, who had come to visit. And so, things started to spin out of control and there was no turning back. Lisa's grandfather wasn't interested in the messy love lives of young people. He didn't care if Lisa was in love with someone else, if the Wilsons were happy with me as a son-in-law, or if I even wanted to marry Lisa. All he cared about was that he couldn't let me down, and more importantly, he couldn't let my grandfather down. "Justin, I've already told your grandfather about you and Lisa. His health isn't good, and you don't want him to worry about you, right?" I can see that you're not without feelings for Lisa. You're a good kid. I know you didn't want to ruin things between Lisa and William, but what's done is done. William can't tolerate something like this. It's over for him and Lisa. But you and Lisa, you still have endless possibilities. Don't you want to give it a try? I have to admit, for a moment I was tempted. But before I could make a choice, Lisa found out she was pregnant. The morning sickness was so bad there was no way to hide it. And just like that, I had no way out. I had no choice but to bite the bullet and endure Lisa's resentful stares as I entered a marriage that was doomed from the start. Sometimes I really hate my tendency to just suck it up and make peace. I had to pretend to be happy and in love in front of the elders, and I had to pretend not to care in front of Lisa. But the truth was I wasn't happy. I was miserable. It was painful watching her suffer through morning sickness, the swelling, the cramps. It was painful being looked down on by the Wilsons, painful being hated by Lisa, painful being mocked by William. I endured it all and made it to another birthday. Grandpa was so happy. He not only had a gift for me, but also one for his future granddaughter. He said he was going to stay for a while this time, that he wouldn't feel at ease until my wife had the baby and recovered. But Grandpa never got to see Rose born. On my birthday, I took him out to dinner. He saw, with his own eyes, William and Lisa holding hands, kissing sweetly. Then he had a heart attack and was rushed to the hospital. I think my resentment toward Lisa really started then. I wasn't the one who made the mistake. I was the biggest victim. So why did I have to be the one to suffer all the consequences? Grandpa was taken straight to the emergency room as soon as we got to the hospital. Not long after, the Wilsons arrived. Lisa's grandfather slapped her hard, right in front of me. But I didn't feel like stopping him anymore. I just stared hopefully at the operating room doors, praying the doctor would bring good news. It wasn't long, though, before the light above the door went out. A doctor came out and told me, with regret, to hurry and say my goodbyes. How ridiculous. Say my goodbyes. My grandpa, who just an hour ago was holding my hand and telling me with a smile about the little toys he'd made for his granddaughter. And now I had to say goodbye? Lisa's grandfather was sobbing, saying over and over how sorry he was to me and to my grandpa. I couldn't hear anything. I just stared blankly, gripping Grandpa's hand, afraid that if I let go, I'd never be able to touch him again. I know you're not happy in your marriage. You just don't say anything because you don't want me to worry. Grandpa lay on the hospital bed, looking at me with heartache.
I'm sorry, Justin.
Grandpa can't be with you anymore. He cried in pain, choking out the words. Justin, what am I going to do? What if someone bullies you? What if no one is good to you? Who can I entrust you to? Don't worry. I'll take good care of Justin. Lisa's grandfather swore through his tears, then pulled Lisa over, demanding she make a promise too. Lisa knelt by the bed and said to my grandpa, Grandpa, don't worry. I'll take good care of him from now on. Grandpa looked at her with clouded eyes and gave a sad smile. The biggest regret of my life was asking you all to take care of him in the first place. He clutched my hand, his eyes filled with a deep reluctance to leave me. But in the end, he was gone. He left full of anger, regret, and profound sorrow. Clutching my aching chest, in the midst of collapse and despair, I got a call from the hospital. Lisa had gone into premature labor. I was rushed back to the hospital, signed a pile of papers, and waited for Rose's birth. Maybe Lisa felt guilty. After Grandpa died, she rarely saw William anymore and focused more on our daughter. She still didn't talk to me much, but at least we could be civil, like polite strangers. William went abroad, heartbroken, and rarely contacted Lisa. I thought, this is it. This is my life now. Stuck in an unhappy marriage, with a wife who doesn't love me, and a cute daughter. But then William came back. And as soon as he did, he captured all of Lisa and Rose's attention. The bit of family affection I might have had and the love I never received, William took it all without a second thought. On Rose's birthday, he said he had a huge surprise planned for her. So Rose abandoned me without a moment's hesitation and ran to him. Lisa said William still didn't like me, so they wouldn't be taking me with them. She promised to bring Rose back before sunset to celebrate my birthday with me. But that day they never came back. Not even by midnight. Lisa called and said Rose was exhausted from playing and had fallen asleep. She was afraid of waking Rose, so they were staying out for the night. In the silent night, I sat by the window for a long, long time. I remembered Grandpa's last words, how he held my hand and sadly asked, "What if no one is good to you?" "Grandpa, I don't like birthdays anymore." Out of politeness, I let the mother and daughter in and poured them some water. Samuel took the calendar from the cabinet and pointed to a date circled in red. "This is Dad's real birthday." Rose looked at me, lost and anxious, her eyes wet. She wanted to speak but didn't dare. They were so much alike, mother and daughter. From their looks to their actions, they were identical. I guess I just contributed a gene, because there wasn't a single trace of me in Rose. Lisa piled the gifts in an empty corner. "This was my mistake. Next time you don't have to prepare anything." I cut her off. "Next time you don't have to come at all." Lisa's back was to me, her body stiff. After a long moment, she turned. "You try to patch it up and make it last." I felt the same way about marriage. I thought maybe Lisa doesn't hate me that much. If I just try a little harder, maybe this marriage can get a little better. I desperately searched for tiny clues, scraps of affection, and tried to gather them together, hoping they could light the path ahead of me. And in the end, I did light up the path. It was a path that was rugged, bumpy, and filled with a nauseating stench. Those scraps of affection weren't enough to keep me going, and they couldn't bring me any warmth. They only made me see more clearly just how unbearable this marriage really was. I used to think maybe your moral compass is just stronger, and you can't accept falling for any man other than William. Later, I realized if your moral compass were really that strong, how could you have been so ambiguous with your first love when you knew you were already married? The truth is, you're just selfish. Even now, when you want to get back with me, you have to use the excuse that Rose misses me. "But Lisa, we've been divorced for 4 years. Lisa swallowed hard, her voice hoarse. "So I'm too late, right?" "It's not about being late." I sighed softly. "It's just all of that is in the past." "Lisa, look forward." Lisa raised a hand to cover her eyes. I know her pride. Seeing her like this didn't bring me any satisfaction. So I quietly stood up and left her to her space. Before I left, she reached out and grabbed my pant leg. She held on tight, her knuckles white, veins popping. She had lost a lot of weight, and there was an aura of defeat around her that she couldn't hide. I heard her suppressed sobs, saw her trembling shoulders. "Don't come here again," I said. "Go back to your own life. Take Rose with you." I pulled my pant leg free and smoothed it out. "I forgot to tell you. My birthday now, it's our divorce anniversary. That was also the day I found Samuel. He doesn't know his own birthday, and I wanted to change mine. So we decided to make that day our new beginning. Just consider it an early birthday present from you. Give me some peace and quiet. Thank you, Lisa." Lisa left, and she took Rose with her. She didn't say a word, but Rose must have guessed what was happening. Before she left, she clung to my leg, refusing to let go. She cried hysterically, her voice sharp and raw. Her face was flushed, and she was sobbing so hard it looked like she might pass out. "I'm not going. Let go of me. I want my daddy." She struggled desperately, begging me. "Daddy, please don't leave me. Okay? I'll be good. I promise. I won't make you sad anymore. Just don't send me away." "Mommy, you're a liar. You said Daddy would forgive me. You big liar. You big meanie. Go away. Daddy, Daddy." The car door slammed shut. I saw Rose pressed against the window, crying, pounding on the glass, looking at me with pitiful eyes. Lisa yanked her back, held her down firmly, and ordered the driver in a low voice, "Go." She didn't look back at me, not once. Samuel stood beside me, looking up at me expectantly. "What is it?" I looked down and asked him gently. "They're not coming back, are they?" "No, they're not." "Daddy, are you sad?" I just smiled and ruffled his hair. "Samuel, everything passes. Remember this. No matter how much pain you're in, as long as you keep moving forward, don't look back, you'll always get through it. I've already walked a long way forward. But Lisa and Rose, they seem to still be in the same place. It doesn't matter, though. We were never on the same path anyway, so there's no need to stop and wait for them. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, I was back a few years ago, right after Rose was born. I was so exhausted from taking care of her that I had fallen asleep on the sofa without realizing it. In a daze, I felt Lisa, home late from work, brush the hair from my forehead and give me a gentle kiss. "Good night, honey." At that moment, I truly believed I could spend the rest of my life with her. Later, I understood. A lifetime is too long. No one can walk the entire journey with you. She was a passerby in my life, a bold, colorful stroke in my otherwise quiet existence. But that's all it was. Lisa, you and I, it was over a long, long time ago. Epilogue. After Lisa and Justin divorced, a gloom settled over the Wilson household for a long time. The man no one had ever wanted was finally gone. But the expected sense of relief never came. Lisa had always been a woman of few words after the divorce. She spoke even less. She buried herself in work, always on a business trip or on her way to one. Even when she was home, she'd usually crash the second her head hit the pillow. Rose, on the other hand, was happily oblivious, always dragging the nanny around, throwing a fit at the slightest inconvenience. But one day, she suddenly asked, "Where's Daddy?" The nanny didn't know what to say. Rose took matters into her own hands. She looked under the table, in the closets, in the garden. She searched for a long time but found nothing. Where is Daddy hiding? Kids forget easily, but Rose was smart. She could clearly remember the last time she'd seen Justin. That morning, before he left, Justin had smiled, bent down, and stroked her head. "Rose, Daddy has to go now. I used to wish you were a good, obedient little girl, but now I understand. You're not like me. You have the luxury of being willful. From now on, just be happy. Okay?" At the time, Rose hadn't paid his words any mind. She was tired of his lectures, annoyed by his rules. But now, remembering those words, looking around the huge mansion and finding no trace of Justin anywhere, she finally, belatedly, began to feel sad. That evening, when Lisa came home, Rose uncharacteristically took her hand. "Mommy, did you and Daddy have a fight?" Lisa stopped and looked down at her. Rose's little face was scrunched up in a frown. "Can you please say sorry to Daddy and make up? I haven't seen him in forever. I want Daddy's sweet and sour ribs. Can we have them tonight?" Lisa looked at the entitlement on Rose's face, her own expression blank at first, then slowly twisting into a cruel smile. "I didn't have a fight with him. We got a divorce. Do you know what a divorce is? It means he doesn't want you anymore. He's never going to see you again. No matter what you want to do, he's not going to care anymore. He abandoned you, understand?" She seemed to enjoy the fear on Rose's face. "And Rose, he doesn't want you. He's going to have other children, ones who are better behaved and cuter than you. You don't matter to him at all anymore. You're lying. Daddy would never leave me." Rose screamed. "You're the one who got abandoned. Daddy said he loves me the most. He lied to you." Lisa laughed out loud. "Rose, you got tricked. Loves you the most? You actually believe that garbage?" "Lisa, what kind of nonsense are you telling a child?" An elder from the Wilson family rushed over, scooping the hysterical Rose into their arms and cooing, "Rose, don't cry, Mommy's just teasing you. I want Daddy. Daddy's busy with something, he went back to his hometown. He'll be back in a few days. Okay? No, no, no. I want to see him now." Rose struggled violently. What Lisa hated most was Rose's spoiled behavior. She watched Rose's tantrum with cold detachment, like a bystander with no emotional investment. Even when Rose cried so hard she nearly threw up, Lisa just frowned and turned to go upstairs. Everything in the bedroom was exactly as Justin had left it, including the huge wedding portrait on the wall. Sometimes Lisa didn't understand what she was thinking. When she and William used to break up, she'd block his number, delete his contact, and throw out all his things in one fell swoop. She wanted every trace of him gone from her world. But with Justin, she didn't throw anything away, as if getting rid of it would mean she had lost. She tried her best to remain emotionally stable, to prove that Justin's departure had no effect on her. She thought, "He's just a man I never loved. For me, this divorce should be a relief." 6 months after the divorce, William asked her if she wanted to get married. Lisa was silent for a long moment, then said, "Let's not." Rose was just making a scene about finding him the other day. "If I marry you, there's no telling what kind of hell she'll raise." William looked her in the eyes and asked, "Is Rose really the only reason you won't marry me? What else would it be?" William smiled, a hint of mockery in his voice. "Lisa, sometimes I'm impressed by you. You even manage to lie to yourself." Lisa didn't understand. What had she lied to herself about? When Rose turned 18, Lisa was still single. But Justin got married. His new wife was a good person, and she was good to Rose too. Rose went to the wedding. Later, at the dinner table, she mentioned it to Lisa, saying the atmosphere at the wedding was great. Not a lot of guests, but it was lively. Lisa just chewed her food in silence, not even bothering to look up. This was how the mother and daughter usually interacted. There wasn't much affection or conversation between them, like a typical wealthy family, plenty of politeness, but no intimacy. So Rose never knew that Lisa had also gone to the wedding. Not only had she gone, she'd brought a gift, a bank card in an envelope. Justin didn't accept it. "Keep it. I know you don't need this, but it's just a small gesture. There's nothing else I can give you." Justin shook his head. "You don't need to give me anything." He was wearing a simple suit, nothing like the elaborate one from his wedding to Lisa, but the smile on his face was much more real. Lisa glanced at him for just a second before looking away. She was afraid that if she looked any longer, she would break down in tears and beg Justin not to get married, not to abandon her. The dressing room was quiet. Someone knocked on the door. "Groom, are you ready? It's time to go on stage." "Ready." Justin stood up and asked Lisa, "Rose is out there too. Why don't you both stay for dinner before you go?" "No, I can't." Lisa shook her head, stood, and walked toward the door first. With her hand on the doorknob, Lisa suddenly spoke. "By the way, there's something I never told you. I used to be jealous of Rose and your grandfather." Justin was stunned. "What did you say?" "Everyone said you were crazy in love with me, but I always felt that in your heart, your grandfather was more important than me." Lisa's voice was flat, "So I was never very happy about that. Then Rose was born, and no matter what you and I were doing, the moment Rose cried, I disappeared from your eyes. So, Lisa said, I've always kind of hated Rose too. Maybe subconsciously, I always wanted all of your attention." Lisa gave a self-deprecating laugh. "Too bad I wasn't that lucky. So I ended up losing what I already had too. Also, it wasn't a drunken mistake. That night, I was completely sober." Lisa finally turned back to look at Justin. "If you're ever unhappy in the future, you can call me anytime. But if you're happy, don't tell me. You know me. I'm not a good person. Seeing you happy with someone who isn't me, I'd probably be tempted to ruin it." From the first day that programmer showed up in Justin's life, Lisa knew. The destructive urge inside her instantly broke free. She was like an ugly insect, lurking in the shadows, plotting to destroy Justin's second chance at happiness. But Justin's smile was so beautiful. He looked so happy. Not personally witnessing Justin's wedding to that woman was the greatest blessing Lisa could offer. Was she sad? Yes. Did she have regrets? Yes. But no matter how sad, no matter how much regret, in this lifetime, this was as far as she and Justin would ever go. Lisa remembered the first time she met Justin. Her grandfather had sent her to pick up some country bumpkin, and she really hadn't wanted to go. A second before she saw him, she was still texting her friends, complaining. But then she looked up, and the moment she saw Justin, she almost forgot to breathe. He was like a cool breeze that swept away all the scorching heat of summer, leaving only the chirping of cicadas and the dappled sunlight through the trees. The feeling was instantaneous. She did a lot of things she couldn't even explain, her eyes unconsciously lingering on him in every spare moment. By the time she came to her senses, there was no going back for them. She watched as the light in him and the shadows grew longer. Back then, she truly believed he would stay by her side for a lifetime. In a haze, Lisa felt like she was dreaming. In the dream, she was back at their wedding day. The officiant was holding a microphone asking her, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, Lisa, do you take Justin to be your husband? She heard her own answer, I do.